Welcome to Spine, the future of finding support. Spine is an AI navigation system that helps people find the right kind of support. From conventional medicine and therapy to coaching and bodywork to holistic and alternative paths, conventional, holistic, or both. This is the podcast where we talk about what that actually looks like. Real searches, real people, real options, across systems, languages, and disciplines. If you want to explore the app, find Spine in your store. If you want to understand where finding support is headed, stay with us. My name is Sylvia, and I am the founder of Spine. Before Spine was an app, it was a search. My search. For my father, there are moments in life when something shifts. Not loudly, not visibly to others, but inside, From here on, nothing is quite the same as before. For me, that moment did not begin with the idea for a company, not with a business plan, not with a product concept, and not with the thought of building a platform. It began with a very simple, very human question. What else can we do? My father was at a point where the doctors could no longer really help him. They had done what they could do. They had exhausted their options. And I say that without reproach. There are limits in every system. There are limits in every discipline. There are limits in every method. But for family members, a moment like that does not feel like a limit. It feels like a wall. You sit there, you hear sentences you do not want to hear, and at the same time your mind keeps working. You try to stay calm. You try to stay reasonable. You try to accept reality. And still, there is this movement forward, this inner impulse that says, maybe there is something else. Maybe we just do not know where yet. Maybe we have not spoken with the right person yet. Maybe somewhere there is an approach we do not know about. Is there something else? Is there someone somewhere who thinks differently? Is there a possibility we have overlooked? Is there a person who works on exactly this topic? Is there an approach that is not known here but maybe in another country? And eventually, only one question remains. What now? I did not know back then that this question would shape 10 months of my life. 10 months in which I searched, not a little, not on the side, but intensely. Every day. Across languages, across countries, across disciplines I had not even known existed. I read, compared, translated, contacted people, checked recommendations, learned new terms, discarded them, kept searching. I read forums, looked for studies, translated websites, wrote emails, waited for replies, followed new leads. I spoke with people I had no personal recommendation for. I found approaches that sounded promising, and others where I sensed immediately, no, this is not serious enough. I opened doors without knowing whether there was really anything behind them. And perhaps the hardest part was, I never knew if I was searching in the right direction. Because when you are in a situation like that, you do not search like someone calmly comparing options. You search with pressure, with fear, with responsibility, with the quiet hope that somewhere, something still exists that could help. Every piece of information can suddenly seem important. Every clue can be a beginning. Every name, every method, every conversation can trigger the question, is this something? Should we follow it? Are we losing time if we do not? Are we losing time if we do? This search was not only organizationally exhausting, it was emotionally exhausting. Because you are not only sorting information, you are sorting hope. You are sorting disappointment. You are sorting responsibility. You try to think clearly while inside, you are anything but clear. I had many things back then that other people in such a situation do not have. I had time. I could dive in completely. I had language skills. I could search internationally. I had contacts. I could reach people, ask questions, follow leads. I had the energy to fight my way through information, even when it was complicated, contradictory, or hard to categorize. And still, it took 10 months. 10 months. In hindsight, that sounds like a number. But when you are searching, every day is long. Every day carries weight. Every day holds hope and disappointment at the same time. There are days when you think, maybe now I have found something, and then you keep reading and realize, no, not after all. There are conversations after which you breathe a brief sigh of relief, and then new questions arise. There are moments when you realize that you no longer know whether you are still searching in a structured way or just trying to turn your own helplessness into some kind of motion. At some point, I found something that helped my father. But that is not the part of the story that has not let me go. Of course, I was grateful. Of course, I was relieved. Of course, there was that moment when I thought, it was good that I did not give up. But after that came another thought, a thought that was quieter but went much deeper. If it took me 10 months with everything I had at my disposal, how is anyone supposed to do this who does not have those means? How is anyone supposed to do this who does not speak several languages, who has no international contacts, who does not know which terms to even type in, who cannot tell whether an approach is serious, suitable, or completely wrong for their own situation? Who maybe is sick themselves, exhausted, afraid, in pain, or simply does not have the strength anymore to click through 1,000 websites? How is anyone supposed to do this who does not know whether they should be looking for a medical explanation, therapeutic support, counseling, a second opinion, relief, accompaniment, or something they do not even have a word for? And then there is something else, something rarely spoken about. Not everyone has these 10 months. Some people no longer have that much time. Some people search while their situation gets worse. Some family members search at night between work, family, worries, and overwhelm. Some people are alone. Some are tired. Some have financial limitations. Some do not understand the language of the systems. Some do not even know which door to open first. And some people die while they are still searching, not necessarily because there was no other path, but because no one helped them find it in time. That thought has not let me go. Not because I believe there is a solution for everything. I do not believe that. Spine did not come from a promise of healing. It did not come from the idea that somewhere the one method is always waiting that changes everything. Spine came from something else, from the realization that orientation itself is a decisive part of support. Today there are many ways to be accompanied, advised, treated, strengthened, or stabilized. There are conventional and alternative paths. There are offerings in different countries, languages, and systems. Some are very well known, others are hard to find. Some fit a person, others do not. The problem is often not that there are no possibilities at all. The problem is that people do not find them in time, and that in the moment when they would need to search, they often have the least strength to search well. I felt that very clearly back then. The more serious a situation gets, the less capacity you have for perfect research. You read more slowly, you doubt more quickly, you lose the overview, you click from page to page, and at the end you sometimes know less than before, because more information does not automatically mean more clarity. Sometimes more information simply means more overwhelm. You find a method, then a counter-opinion, a provider, then a warning, a recommendation, then 10 new terms. You find stories of people something has helped, and others where it has not helped. You find hope and uncertainty side by side. And exactly there, for me, lies the core. People do not need simply more content. They need a better beginning. Many people do not start their search with technical terms. They do not start with the perfect category. They do not start with a clear sentence like, I am looking for exactly this method with exactly this kind of provider. They start with sentences like, I am exhausted. I am afraid. I do not sleep well anymore. I am stuck. I do not feel like myself anymore. I do not know what is going on with me. I do not know what kind of help fits me. And these sentences matter because that is how real searching begins, not in the language of systems, but in the language of people. And exactly at this point, I wanted to start. Spine is not supposed to tell people what they have to do. It is not supposed to make a diagnosis. It is not supposed to take a decision away from anyone. And it is not supposed to create false certainty. Spine is supposed to help make the beginning easier. When someone can only describe what they feel, that should turn into a clearer search. When someone does not know whether they should look for medical help, therapy, counseling, alternative offerings, or supportive content, Spine should help make these possibilities visible and more understandable. Not as a final answer, but as orientation. For me, from the very beginning, it was important. Searching has to become more human. It cannot expect that someone already knows the right words. It has to be able to listen, to categorize, and to show more quickly which directions even exist. That is exactly why AI plays a role in Spine. Spine is not a doctor and not a therapist. It is not supposed to take a decision away from anyone. But AI can help to better understand a search formulated in human language. When someone writes, I feel overwhelmed and don't know what kind of support I need, then the search should not run into a dead end. It should help make possible directions visible, quickly, clearly, and in a way that a real next step can come from it. Because between an answer and a real next step, there is a big difference. A general answer can reassure. It can explain. It can offer a thought. But in a real search, a person eventually needs more than a sentence. They need a direction that is connectable. They need options they can actually look at. They need content, appointments, profiles, or offerings that do not stay abstract, but become tangible. That is the difference that matters to me. Spine is not supposed to just say, maybe you need support. Spine is supposed to help discover concrete options, people, offerings, content, appointments, or events that might fit the search. Not at some point, not after 10 more rounds of searching, but as directly as possible from the moment when someone describes what is going on. And it is not about getting to any answer faster. It is about getting to a better next step faster. That is what I was missing back then. Not the will to search, not the willingness to take care, not hope. What was missing was a place that structured the search, a place that made different paths visible without immediately claiming which one is right, a place that does not force people to decide on a category before they have even understood which categories exist. Spine came out of that gap, out of the gap between I need help and I know where to start. That gap is bigger than many people think. It is not only technical, it is human. It opens up when someone is exhausted and still has to make decisions, when someone is afraid and still has to compare, when someone is in pain and still has to research, when family members have to function even though inside they are long since overwhelmed. And it also opens up because the world of support is very fragmented. There is not one place. There are many places, many languages, many systems, many perspectives, many offerings, many providers, many terms. For people who know the field, diversity can be valuable. For people who are just starting to search, it can be overwhelming. Spine is not supposed to reduce this diversity by showing only one path. Spine is supposed to make it more understandable. It is supposed to help people see there are different directions, there are different kinds of support. There are offerings that lean more medical, others more advisory, others more accompanying or stabilizing. There are paths that are important for acute situations and others that are more relevant for orientation, growth, or relief. Not everything fits everyone. Not everything is suitable for every situation. But people should at least be able to see what exists, and they should not find it only after months. When I look back today on that time with my father, I do not only see the search, I also see how much of it was unnecessarily hard. Not the illness itself, not the limits of medicine, not the uncertainty that is part of life, but the lack of orientation, the many open tabs, the unclear terms, the question of whether I was overlooking something important, the fear of being too late. These things imprinted themselves deeply, and they are the reason why Spine is more than a product to me. It is the attempt to create a beginning that does not overwhelm people, a beginning that does not demand that they already know everything, a beginning that says, you can describe what is going on, you can be uncertain, you cannot yet know which direction fits, and still the search can begin. For me, that is the core. Not more information, but better orientation. Not another promise, but a clearer beginning. Spine did not come into being because I found a particular method. Spine came into being because I understood that the hardest door is often not the last one, but the first. The first door is the question, where do I start? And this question often decides whether someone moves forward at all. When the beginning is too hard, people give up. When the search is too complicated, they postpone it. When the options are too overwhelming, they stand still. And sometimes they lose time, strength, and hope because of it. I want Spine to step in exactly at this point, not loudly, not lecturing, not with big promises, but calmly, clearly, and accessibly. A place that says, you do not have to know yet which method is the right one. You do not have to know all the terms yet. You do not have to go through everything alone. You can start here. For people who do not know where to begin. For people who sense that they need support but do not yet know what kind. For family members who are searching because someone they love needs help. For people who need more clarity in a system that is hard to see through. And for everyone who wishes that searching for support did not only become easier once you already know what you are looking for. Spine is not a promise that everything becomes easy, but it is an attempt to make the beginning lighter. And sometimes, that is exactly what matters. Because before someone can find help, they first have to know where they can search. Before someone makes a decision, they have to understand what options exist. And before someone walks a path, they need a beginning. That is Spine. Born from a personal search, built for people who should no longer have to search alone. And I am glad you are here. If Spine has caught your interest, the app is free and available in over 175 countries on the App Store and Google Play. Just describe what's going on. The AI search helps turn your own words into clearer directions, providers, and content that might fit, conventional, holistic, or both. You don't need to know what you're looking for yet. And when you share Spine, you're helping build something bigger, a global search engine for support. For all the people who are still standing alone in front of the question, what now? The more people find Spine, the more people find their way. Glad you're with us.